handle the note takers as well, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. I'll kick the bots while I'm doing it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome everyone in now that we've got the recording going. My name is John. If you don't know me, I'm one of the core maintainers on the Augur team. Sean is just running a little bit late, so he'll be here soon. But while we are waiting, the main thing that he wanted me to bring up was to talk about issue triage, where we're at with current issues, anything that needs talking about, or anything that anyone has blockers on. So I haven't looked at active issues since Friday, but if I remember correctly, I think we had a couple pull requests come through that were intended to fix at least two of the issues that I know of. But does anyone have anything that they need to talk about regarding issues that we currently have open?
Which isn't super helpful right now at the exact moment. No, I have a feeling there's an issue with with facade just because we just I just came online about an hour or so ago and our instance is down. Usually that means that the disk is filled up with error logs. And so it's going to take us probably a couple of hours before we know for sure what the issue is. So it's hard for at least the Red Hat side of the house to speak on like where we're at with like issues and stuff, but I would assume it's going to be facade based issues.
Okay. All right. Yes. So with facade, I know that we had Adrian made a pull request recently for cleaning up zombie processes with check output. So I think that um, I don't know if that has been merged yet, but I remember seeing that recently.
We
Um,
don't run main. I was running the release branch.
yeah. Um, okay. So with where we're at on that, I think that will definitely, if it's come down due to just running out of disk space, then I think we can definitely try to work with whatever logs are there. If there's any specific errors, definitely, as usual, having it filed in an issue will definitely allow us to start tracking on that. Um, okay. Are there any other key points that we would like to bring up in the last 5 minutes before Sean
I'm
should
here.
be getting online? Okay,
Yeah, sorry
awesome.
about that. My internet's been going in and out at home, and then my phone wasn't really being very reliable. So I don't know, maybe I have a citywide internet thing.
Yes. Awesome. Well, welcome in, Sean, and I will hand it off to you. So far, we've just talked about Callie said that their instance went down, and so that's where we're at right now. But I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, Kelly, I guess your instance went down. Is there more info?
No, we have no other. We can't connect to the EC2 that it's on. Hopefully, if I had to assume
I
based
just
off of
got it.
passage.
I'm
Oh,
connected. Discs seem fine, so I don't know. I'll
weird.
poke around and see what the logs
Yeah,
say.
I'll poke around after this call as well. So yeah, I mean, I just got online like during our we have a team meeting before and noticed then that I couldn't connect to our EC2. But what was the biggest? So a lot of the things I'll be giving in it with an asterisk of we don't really super know what's going on right now. But if I want to assume based off what it was last week, is that the analyze commits and parallel facade just general problem is kind of the biggest thing for us right now. Um, those two, there was a couple of things that had been done based off of the release branch that I started running Thursday of last week, and it seemed like it helped some, but a good amount of those issues were still there. I was hoping this morning to get to go through the logs from over the weekend to be able to see what like pretty much where the state of the facade errors are. Interesting. Oh, so I think that our flower just turned on. So that's very unfortunate that we won't be able to refer back to the logs to be able to get a better look. That was kind of what I was hoping for. I can say from when the last time I checked last week, um, it was at least moving, but we were still seeing the time zone error. Yeah, the errors that I have, like the issues I have open for analyze, commit, and parallel, from what I have seen, are still valid. But I'll be able to say more definitively once we have a little bit more runtime. We just unfortunately lost all of our logs.
Okay, so it's I think when there's so from a production perspective, so there's like kind of two things. Like mostly we're about obviously continuing to build out the Augur 8 knot infrastructure, the system, the software. When we run into these infrastructure issues, I think what's really helpful for the whole community is that what the work that Callie's doing and the work that we do in our test instances, these are the largest scale instances of Augur that exist. So when we run into issues on the scaled infrastructure that we're using, a lot of times these kinds of issues I can't get to show up when I'm looking at 2,000 or 3,000 repositories. It's only when I'm in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands that certain issues show up. And I suspect that's what we're seeing. There is one place that I might suggest you look, which could triangulate a weird issue that I had last week. Last week on the test instance I ran out of database connections, which should never happen. Because I had
So I would say that with the insert, whenever it comes to the analyze, commits, and parallel, at least for us, it's not having to do with the size of the instance. It has to do with which specific repositories we are
right.
collecting on and what weird data anomalies are in their commits, which actually makes these errors a little bit easier to handle, in the sense that those, whenever I give example repositories, are a lot more useful than maybe some things that are more unique to each instance.
I see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was not very clear about I jumped between the two topics and I was back at your instance going down.
Yeah, I'd say it's
Uh,
way too early for us to speak on anything regarding that. Well, we can
okay.
give some updates later, but the analyze, commits, and parallel can speak pretty. I was hoping to have more logs to be able to go off of to update all of the issues with more errors. But I can say from last week, even with the updates on the two commits that were involving this process on release, that we were still seeing those those errors. At least it seemed like it wasn't fully stalling like it was before, but those discrete issues of formatting whenever things get wonky with commits is still some. We can talk about the individual problems a little bit better, which is helpful that you can have a smaller, like with these types of errors, you can have a smaller instance that you just load these specific repositories into and are able to replicate those errors, because it has to do with the commits, not anything else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think when you're looking at the production instance, look at your database connection count and see if something seems awry there. I had something weird, and because I'm using the same connection to test 8 knot and Augur, I don't know. I don't know for sure what's happening. So I'm going to work on that this week. Um, for the analyze commits issue, we're effectively what we're seeing is basically facade stalls, right?
I can't speak 100% sure of whether that is still happening.
Okay.
Because I was seeing movement. It took a while, and it was taking a while, but we were at least seeing more movement as of the end of last week before I went on PTO. But we were still seeing, at least it was failing. There were the errors that I was logging that were more specific, like the time zone error, the different things. Those, at least it was actively failing, and on those, and you're able to see with those logs exactly what the format issue is. that's causing it.
And John, did we do any patching on that last week? Because I know when we talked in Slack, there was, our thought was that we had patched it previously and thought it was fixed, but it seems like what's happening now is similar to the issue that you patched back at the end of April.
So, yes, it looked to me like the issue that I patched, which was the time zone offset issue, was still occurring. Now, my supposition was that one of two things could be happening. The first was that it's possible that the issue that I patched, just the patch didn't work and something else needs to be done in order to properly fix it, which I don't think is likely to be the case because I thought that we tested it with a known commit and
We,
it fixed the issue.
yeah, we did. We went back.
Yeah, I would say, like, from my experience, I do think that initial patch made a huge difference, and that there is something a little bit more niche about the one that we see now. Like, you used to see this in the
Mhm.
hundreds, and now
Okay.
we're seeing it in the single digits. So there's still something there. I think that the patch is in the right direction, but that there's some more nuanced weirdness that people have caused in the time zones. I think Adrian has put some additional details in, as well as I've put some additional like repositories of where this is occurring. And I'll update those issues probably throughout the day and the next, like today and tomorrow. I'm so bummed that we don't have those logs, like all the logs that I was hoping to go through to today, but we'll get them again. It'll just probably take a day or two before I can go through and fully update them. I'll message in the working group channel once I say I'll like kind of give a I've updated everything fully to what I'm seeing. I'd say it's mostly up to date, but um I will kind of send over a message once I can like say here's exactly what's going on and here's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
so it sounds like, I'm trying to think,
I will say, just to follow up on what I was saying earlier, there is a second possibility, and the second possibility is that there's just somewhere else where the exact same issue is occurring that also needs to be patched. So it's possible that there's multiple locations where we're trying to encode an invalid time zone that we only caught one of them and we need to go back and try to find the second spot where that might be happening. So that's my second sort of thought on what might be the root cause.
that's certainly possible. We use time for a couple different things when we're counting commits, so um, that's possible. For those of you who have more or less experience with Augur, one of the one of the reasons like we've never gone and rewritten it in Go or Kotlin or Rust is because effectively what Augur ends up doing is discovering all of these anomalous pieces of data that exist in Git logs in the universe, and then we patch them like this. And we keep going until we encounter another one. And because of the scale we're at, the number of little, I would call them data anomalies that arise through trace data from open source projects, so many fixes are embedded in the logic of Augur that rewriting it, for the same reasons we don't rewrite insurance company software or banking software, we're not rewriting Augur. Callie, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just was looking at something and I just ran into a new question.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to analyzing commits in parallel, that issue, is that limited by anything? Because I mean, it doesn't use GitHub keys, I wouldn't think. I'm just trying to understand like how long, like some of their like of there's things that it's getting stuck on, and I'm just trying to get into my brain arbitrary scale for this is hanging too long.
In analyze commits, no. There's no call to any external system. It all happens at the local file system and operating program level. If the facade system as a whole does use what's, I would call it almost a tertiary rate limited version of the keys. So the primary rate limit is, of course, the API calls, and then there's a secondary rate limit, which has to do with the GraphQL calls, but there's also a much tighter rate limit when we're resolving contributors. And
Yeah.
we are calling the API and we're calling contributors, but that logic.
Whenever, yeah, that's insert facade, like insert contributor. There's like and there's an insert contributors
Right.
path, and so interesting because that's why I'm gonna let it sit a little bit. But there's some repositories that seem to just be stalling. For a little bit there was like a full stall out of the system where we were seeing nothing. But I'm just looking at our logs that have been open now that Flower has been up for us for maybe 15-20 minutes, and I'm seeing the same exact, like some of the same exact um just the same exact repositories that have been that I've seen sitting there for days. And so those are the ones where I'm like, I have a feeling there is something in there that is holding them up.
Okay.
But I'll let it sit a little bit longer and update the issue end of today, beginning of tomorrow. I just want to let things have a little bit of time.
All right. I'm just making a note here.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I want to make sure we're not going high on time, but I want to make sure that there's been two different topics that have been brought up in the working group chat that I want to make sure that we get to at some point during this meeting. One being talking about CHAOSScon Africa and potential working session for Augur. And I think there was another person who's been trying to get Augur set up. So I just want us to keep that in mind as time is going through to make sure we get to both of those.
that's good. Why don't we, so are there other topics that, so these are these are our previous agenda items, I think. So the other main issue that I had was issue triage. So why don't we just talk about CHAOSScon Africa and see if the Augur setup person is here first, and then we can get to the triage of issues, because issue triage is an infinite task. It'll take up as much time as we have.
Yes, that's kind of why I was like, okay, I want to make sure we take a little bit of a
Yeah, thank you for raising that, because you're 100% right there. Absolutely would have taken up all the time we have. So why don't we jump to CHAOSScon Africa's working session and talk about that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. I started a conversation, a thread on the Slack channel. This year we're having CHAOSScon Africa next month on the 13th of August. And I attended the session that Kali and Sean did at the CHAOSScon in Denver. And it was really, really very simple. And I think it would be great to kind of repeat that kind of session in CHAOSScon this year. The major goal is, I know like some CHAOSS Africa members have been contributing to Augur in terms of like, I think in the past, and I think setting up the new UI. So I feel like it would be a great space for people to get to know more about Augur, since we'll be having other people that are not part of us also join the conference. And it will also be great to get people to set it up and figure out like issues that they could contribute to. Usually, sometimes people don't usually come with their laptops for some of these events, but we would encourage them to come with their computers. So two goals: awareness, and also find ways that they could maybe contribute during after setting up. And I think I also mentioned this to Kali. I know it wouldn't be in person, but Adinka leads our developer group, so she can work in person to kind of like help run that session in addition to a virtual rundown. Maybe Kali or someone else could do something like that, and then somebody in person kind of like handles that. And even I see with the triage of issues, that's something that people can help do during the working session as well, if that can fit in. So it's also open for like suggestions and ways to like just make it be more effective. And yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was gonna. I've had a little bit of time to kind of think about this since you brought it up, and what I'm kind of envisioning is we start up, like kind of go through Sean, you and I, or pretty much anybody, we go through just the initial like getting started, everyone getting running with like just the Docker app compose. We're there to kind of help through questions, things like that, and for us to come in with some good first time issues, like kind of have a set of them and let people start to work on them. People can ask questions. And so I think it would be really beneficial for as much of us that are more familiar with Augur to be there, like whether it be virtually. And so we can kind of get them going, getting started, getting people a good first issue, and then kind of letting them go. But where they can kind of get through those initial like smaller questions and have that like initial support process pretty heavy right at the beginning during this time period. And then yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about what this could look like.
Yeah, and we could also like during the working session, we could also have like either a running Zoom call or on the CHAOSS Slack, people that are participating in the working session can also drop issues during that particular time slot. So it would be like about 40 minutes.
So the goal is to pre-record, and it sounds like, if I heard you right, Ruth, there would be a person there who could help locally, but it might also be helpful if like Callie or I or both of us or anybody that's interested could be on like a Slack call or an open Zoom channel. Am I sort of getting a sketch of this?
Yes, either on Slack, async or an open Zoom channel in case like the network is not great. Could do troubleshooting on Slack. But
Yeah.
beforehand, I will be there to in person and maybe some other contributors. And I think also like the issues, I would love it not to be limited to just code, but also like different things, documentation, could be a range of things.
This is sort of a technical question because I think, I don't know, it was like 2 years ago, I prepared a pre-recorded call, but I did something wrong with the way it loaded to YouTube and you couldn't get it to load locally. So I just don't want to do that again.
I think so there was the call, but we had a sound. Yeah, it was a sound issue.
Okay. So it's probably my
But I think this time we can work more on the sound. Yeah.
And so I think if it's like August
Yeah,
13th, if
and
maybe we
Kemi,
could shoot for a week
I think
before that
that's-
at the latest to have it ready. We could just
Yeah,
verify.
I think that we could even just use what Adrian had made for us as a backup for CHAOSScon North America. We might need to do a narration on top, but if the first like initial point is let's have a video up and going that like walks people through the startup of Augur, I think we have like I think we're pretty much already almost there, and then we can focus on okay, how do we get issues set up where we have a good backlog going, and then making sure and getting scheduling down so then whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, we have people standby ready to answer people's questions and kind of get through that initial stickiness of getting running, getting like started contributing with a project.
Yeah. Okay. And one other thing that I just thought of, like in the pre-record video, it would be great to also add like context on what Augur is used for. Just like a background, kind of like maybe 2 to 3 minutes breakdown of what Augur is used for, how it's like all brought together for non-technical people in the audience as well that might want to just be a user.
Yeah, how much time total like for this
So
recording, how much time do you have?
I can get back to you on the particular time slot, but I know we have 40 minutes for we want to break it down to like that working session and then the the recording time.
Okay.
How
the
much do you
recorded
think should
video.
be the recording? How long do you think the recording should be ideally, Ruth?
Or maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
if we can,
I
if
think
I
we
can
did
do
your stuff in
15,
5 minutes.
yeah, if we
Yeah,
can do
15 sounds
15
great.
for just to be able to give the good, like I can do a pretty solid, like here, this is what
Right.
Augur is, giving a little bit on 8 knot as well, because I think usually people like to have that pairing to know of like, here's the data, here's how the data is collected, and here's how the data is visualized. That's something that I feel pretty good about doing in about, I can get that like solid in about 5 minutes. Set up
Mhm.
and getting Augur running, I think is like would be like a 5 to 10 minutes. So I think we could do it within. We could do a pretty like complete overview in 15 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
and yep. And I think what Adrian did was really good. Our backup video during OSSNA. I think we can do a little more production on it, but
Yeah, I can talk to Adrian because I'll probably be I'll talk to Adrian because I think we just need to add some narration on top of it. I might just do like a screen recording of myself kind of going through the basic overview slides that I have for 8 knot and Augur, and then we can talk and then going through the video and narrating over Adrian's video. Sean, I'll talk to you. Like I know we have our normal meeting tomorrow. We can talk a little bit more to make sure that we have the right amount of detail, and maybe if it wants to be like a co-recorded thing, if you wanted to go more specific into certain things regarding Augur. We also, I think within the 15 minutes we'd have enough time, it might be worth even just like giving a 1 minute like, hey, here's how you find these issues, like these are like how to find the issues, and giving a little bit of a kickoff into here's what Augur is, here's how you get it started, and here's the next steps of contributing yourself.
yeah, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's talk about that in our one-on-one tomorrow. And I think maybe some other advanced work that will be important is gardening some of the issues. We've had a good volume as the amount of work on Augur is accelerated here, and I have not kept up with all of the issues in terms of triaging and preparing and identifying the ones that are most likely to be good newcomer or first time contributor issues. So I'll maybe try to put on that.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Could you send the link to Adrian's video? I would love to send it to the local collaborator as well, just to watch through it and maybe subsequently join these meetings. Yeah, it's good. Sure.
Do you have that, Kelly? Adrian's. I think Adrian's recording is something Kelly has, or
Okay.
Adrian may.
Yeah, I don't know. See if Adrian's I have the video. It's something that I've sent. I need to ask sorry, I need to ask Elizabeth if she ever ended up posting it, because it was something that we considered doing as like an additional resource to post alongside CHAOSS concept. But I do have, let me see if I can find the video. If not, I'll just, I know Adrian has it because he's the one that's I'm just gonna tag Adrian in the working group chat to post the video, because I would say that the video, or he might be going off mute. The video I don't think has any narration, so it's just the like the line commands, but I'll let Adrian speak.
Well, I was just say I could also just upload it to YouTube too, just as like it's not unlisted thing on either one of my accounts that I have
I
access.
would let for YouTube upload, let's let Elizabeth do it, so then it'd be uploaded by CHAOSS.
Yep.
Alright.
Yeah. So
But if you could post it in channel for the people can, it's just the video to see
Send
it.
the file in the channel.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
sounds good.
uploads are good.
I
Yeah.
will keep giving updates and see how we go forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ruth. Kelly, you also mentioned there was an Augur setup issue, which
Yeah, I just wanted to pause one more thing for the CHAOSS. Like, so what time scheduling? I just want to, I don't know if that discussion is for now. I just want to make sure we get on the same page of what time that people should be available, whether that be synchronous or asynchronous.
yeah, time and date to be on Slack is
Yeah.
the question, right?
Yes.
I think yeah, I think we will have to stick, because like it runs from morning Nigerian time till 4 p.m. So I will have to like work on the schedule based on your time zones so that we have it at like, well, it most likely be morning your time.
Yeah.
But I'll
Yeah, and just let
Well-
us know. I'm happy for, I mean, for one day, like I'm happy to, if I need to log on a little early for East Coast time, completely fine with that. I just want to get that like set on the calendar and stable as soon as possible, just so I can make sure to get myself and whoever else we can coordinated.
Yeah, just check the calendar because I couldn't think of what day of the, so it's a Wednesday,
That's not bad.
which is good because it's not a very busy meeting day overall.
Agreed.
Okay, so anything else on the CHAOSScon Africa working session?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm trying to see if I don't see the people in chat that were, or the people in this call that were asking a bunch of questions in chat about startup. I would say, Adrian, do you know where that, like, I don't remember. There's been a lot of messages since the last time I looked at it. I didn't know there's like kind of any update on, it seems like that there is some movement on someone working with the like a program run by the European Commission to use Augur, and so definitely wanted to make sure that they were supported and had everything that they needed to get everything set up.
Yeah, I've been trying to just engage with that thread, and just trying to help them get on Docker Compose setup because it seems like they were just kind of DIYing stuff.
Do you have a link to that chat string, Adrian? I was
Yeah.
I was out. I guess
I'll
that's
just link to the main message in the thread in Zoom chat.
Yeah,
thank you.
it's not. Yeah, it's not too far back. So,
Oh, I'm hosting. That's why I can't see the Zoom chat.
if you just scroll back
I
to
found it.
Thursday of last week.
Yeah, it's like the fourth message back in the channel. No, not
Yep.
channel.
Thank
Like the
you.
big block with. Yeah. I don't know if that helps, but
It helps a ton. Do we want to look at that here without the person? I guess, what do you think the stat? I'm going to go to the bottom and see if there's a. I guess, Adrian, is there any kind of summary? Like, what are they stuck on?
I think it was just generally getting they were running it before, and I think they were having some, let me check. So they've been using it. I think they said they were facing slow collection issues. Um and I think they were had some complications with setting up the compose, and so they were like only using the backend container, and then
Sure.
had like Redis, Rabbit, Postgres, and all that just running on the host directly,
Okay. So
which
that's
I
there's a bit of
imagine
a,
probably contributed to some of the shenanigans. But
yeah,
um
100% that path isn't tested, I would
yeah.
say.
Um but yeah, I was just asking them like, hey, what systems are you running? So it looks like they're on an Ubuntu system. I think they mentioned the commit hash that I think they were using, which I forget exactly where it is, but it's I think it was somewhere in between like the release where the release branch is and where main is now. Like it was a few commits into sort of the current next release stuff.
Okay.
So it wasn't like frighteningly old.
All
Um,
right. Callie, is that hand raised new or is that one I didn't
Yeah,
clear?
it's new.
Okay.
I just wanted, and this might already exist. Is it documented anywhere? Like the new, like I know we've changed how branch management works, but like kind of the recommended, like what you should be run, like what is the recommended version of Augur to run, and then kind of explaining like the nature of the release branch So I could say even myself, like even though I was involved in all those conversations, like last week, it took me a little bit to kind of understand, oh, at least for my purposes, release branch is the right branch. Most of the time you want to go off of like a actual formal release, but yeah, I just didn't know that that's something that we need to more formally document for like people like this
So
situation.
it is documented, but it's in
Okay.
the Augur standard operating procedure heading. Thank you to Adrian for actually putting this together. I think I think this is I think this is the right information. I think what you might be suggesting, Callie, is that perhaps it should be in a more prominent place where
Yeah,
newcomers
maybe like
can
a
see
short
it.
thing at the top of the README of like here is like the recommended current version, and even just like a if you'd like to see the branch that has the most up to date bugs fixes and that is confirmed to like I'm not thinking of good wording right now, but confirmed to work well. Run the release branch. Just something that's pretty basic right at the top of the README, I think would be useful to people. And then like you can always, and I think it's a good like, here's the 2 sentence overview. Please refer to the document that Adrian has made. And so you can go, it has it into a lot more detail. But I think having like front and center, this is the branch or this is the release that is recommended to run. I think is really would be really helpful to people.
So I think I'm taking away from that a succinct version of this really clear documentation in the README will help people to get started faster without losing their way.
Yeah, like it's even just like a if you'd like to if you're looking at a development to contribute to development, push to this branch. If you'd like to run your own instance on the most stable version, run this branch, see this document for more details. So it's just like really the most high level stuff and then lets people know that that document exists.
Okay, how did I'm sorry, I'm fascinated by why the markdown ticks worked on this line, but not on this line. Sorry. I think those are the two main points, right? That, if you're going to do development, the new process is to push it to open your PR against main. When you want to run a release, the new process is to run the release branch.
Yes.
And just to make that, I guess, prominent or very, very
Yeah.
in the README so that everyone kind of knows how to get started.
Especially right now when you're in a transition phase, because you either have new people going in who have no context, or you have people who've like been involved in the project before, and the development process has now changed.
Yeah.
I think it's changed in a positive direction, but I think it will be used to a little bit of confusion for a bit.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a very good point. I know the only thing I had to learn how to do is understand UV run, and how to use that. But I'm surely people who have less experience with Augur will need some additional scaffolding. Okay, I'll take that, and I'm just going to make a note to probably just open an issue about this. I put myself on it, but anyone else is welcome to do that. I feel like there was something else that arose from this discussion that I wanted to bring up, but I don't recall it. Is there anything we should do before we start or initiate issue triage? And really, I don't obviously intend to triage all the issues, but I would like to understand which issues that we haven't already discussed are also high priorities for folks.
Yeah, sounds good to me. If you can share
Um,
your screen, we can kind of go
yep,
through it. I probably
yeah,
this is
sure.
this is probably me.
Let's see if I think when you should share my screen, I think you meant to share this screen, right?
Yeah, I was just saying that if we're gonna triage issues, if you could share your screen so then it's not just verbal, it's visual as well.
Yep. Do you see my screen?
I do not.
I can
Really?
see it.
I
don't
can
know if
see
that
it.
helps.
Oh, it's a new tab.
Oh,
Zoom's
really?
changing things, and it may have just been my computer, but Zoom, interesting.
I've
Anyways,
I've had that issue with the newer versions of Zoom where when multiple shares are occurring and I don't know, maybe somebody else is sharing, then it does open this tab thing and it's very confusing.
all
Um,
good. All right, we can get into the issue triage stuff. Oh, that's a good one. The refresh. I've been talking to Adrian on it. We might be able to talk more. So that refresh, I know we had been talking about this in chat. It looks like you might have made a comment to it that I haven't seen yet. But the refresh materialized views, interval, and day, that does get updated on startup. I can say that with complete certainty at this point, and
oh,
we know where that's coming from.
that is interesting.
Total
I
random side comment on triage too. I think last week I went through and just scrolled through the whole issue list and tried to just like I marked a whole bunch of stuff as duplicates and tried to tag things that were like obviously documentation or stuff. So don't know
okay.
if any of that was helpful. I probably flooded someone's notifications if you guys are all like subscribed to their repository, but
That's fantastic, and I would have been like super excited if I had been paying closer attention while I was on vacation last week, but um, I didn't. So
But we might want to we can click into I think that first issue, like the 3231, the refresh. I think this is something that's worth talk about.
yeah,
Because I know that we've gone back and forth on this a little bit.
yeah.
And it might be that we've gotten to a middle ground between where the settings are, where the settings are getting made.
So what you're seeing is that this this is getting loaded. So is the value in the database table is getting in the config table is getting updated is when Augur starts, from what you're saying.
Yeah. So if you go into that file right there,
This
that's
config
linked.
one.
Yes. So it defines a bunch of setting values. So if you update them yourself in your database, once you start it up, this overwrites it. So if you
Okay.
go down, so I might have linked the wrong thing, or it might
Oh,
be where
there were two links on the issue, so I could have clicked the wrong one. This was, I think, to a different line number.
there we go. So that's where it's getting assigned to one. And so it seems like all of these are getting assigned here. And I actually don't even it might be I think that it's worth the discussion of like I know that there's a lot of people who critique Augur's use of a config like you doing configs from the database. And so of like that being the place that you update it, whether it should be this file. I'm not saying that I think that this file is the solution. I don't really know, but this might be a better overall discussion. I'm gonna let John go.
So yes, in terms of having the config in the database, um, Andrew was working on a solution to getting the config moved more out of the database to avoid issues specifically like this one. I can speak on those. This file is not intended to update the database on every startup, so I don't know why that's happening, but it definitely should not be. But so the solution that we intend to move towards eventually is going to be a config file that is just in the root Augur directory
And
that
it,
does not rely on the database.
it used to be a config file. It's not because I thought it would be better in the database. So this is me. I caused this. So
It's okay. And that's why I guess why I wanted to have a discussion because I think it might be I almost think it's worth having the discussion of like the config file and how we do it more so than like this specific problem. And so yeah, whenever it comes to issue triaging, this might be kind of a point of maybe the move over to a config file sooner might be a good thing to prioritize. I think it might take out some ambiguity. I know for at least me it would, because there's just, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because I have felt like I'm like, man, I feel like I've changed this like 5 times, but maybe I didn't save it. And then now I know for sure it hasn't, that's what's been happening. And so moving just over to a config file versus trying to solve this very specific like setting, I think is a bigger thing.
So I have a question. Using this sort of block as an indicator, would you expect the vmem cap to be updated as well on startup from what you're describing?
Yes, and that one's like there's certain things that like I haven't even thought about too much because it's just
No,
where
that's
it's like I
okay.
know it's more that I know that I've done settings that have been specific that's been good for our instance that I know that have been lost and I don't really know what to do about it.
Is your instance running in Docker?
Like what do you mean by running in
Is the
Docker?
Augur instance in a Docker container, the version of Augur that you run? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm trying to understand, I'm just checking the differences between the instance you're running and the instance that I'm testing on primarily right now.
So Augur, yes, but not the database.
Okay. So
So the
with
database is not up like so whenever we do Docker up and we do like whenever
no,
we build and stuff, we keep the database is handled separately than Augur the tool.
so I'm not, I, I don't know that this is right, but I think we should look. I'm running bare metal in the test environment that I use for scale, and these values are not getting updated on bare metal. And I can think of reasons why Docker might reinitialize these startup parameters in a way that's different than happens on bare metal, just because of the work that Docker does in the background. And this could be completely wrong. It could be something entirely different and weird the way I have this bare metal instance configured. So I think I need to maybe do a
Yeah, I guess that's why
CHAOSS.
changing over to like a config file, I think takes out all that ambiguity of
100%.
and so then
Yeah.
we don't even have to worry about what is happening on bare metal versus what's happening on like with Docker if we don't have to worry about this like startup situation. Because I do think that this would be something that is different. There's probably somewhere in a Docker file where this is a part of the build of like whenever it starts up Augur that this specific file is run in a way that's not run on bare metal. But if we just use a config file, then none of that matters anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the 100% config file needs to be the way that we go. Um, okay, this one's understood. And if I go back here, okay.
Yeah, I know we're getting to the top of the hour and I've kind of already said this, but we might want to we might need to do more issue triaging probably in the next meeting.
I agree.
I guess this is going to be, I'm assuming that we aren't taking the chaos pause for this meeting. We haven't
No,
talked about. Yeah,
I
I was going to strongly suggest that we don't.
yeah, no, when the topic of pausing meetings came up, I was like, well, we're not gonna pause Augur because there's just too much activity right now. We can't just
Yeah.
stop for a month. Like that's not realistic. So
Okay, that's good. But yeah, issue triaging on, I guess, from the Red Hat side of the house, probably the biggest thing that we're dealing with is just issues with facade. And it's
yep.
not running. There's just something, yeah, I think there's just like a layer of things that was hard for me to parse through. Because since we've moved over, I think we're having the same issue that we used to have on core, where because there's some stuff that are just like not clearing through, it's a bottlenecking it. And so I have
I
a
think
feeling
so
that
too.
and so once the stuff clears out, I think it's all gonna handle itself. But for right now, we're almost at a standstill whenever it comes to facade.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And you know, the Red Hat instance is doing a fantastic job, and all the folks are doing a fantastic job just identifying the things that will ultimately affect lots of other Augur users. But not for a longer time, because obviously you've been running Augur for longer and you have much more repos. So many more repos, however the right grammatical way to say that is.
Yeah. But I'll keep everybody updated on that.
I think we're out of time. I'm gonna reach out to Adrian and John Strunk, because I want to just verify the release. I know what the process is on paper. I just want to make sure we execute it correctly, because we're probably going to do one tomorrow. And we haven't done one since the OSSNA conversation. So I'll just reach out to y'all separately from this, just letting everyone else know this is going on. So if there are no other issues, we're
Yeah, I'll
2 minutes
one other
past
thing is
time.
that we might have some issues coming from our side once we figure out what caused our instance to crash. So stay tuned for that.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thanks.
Have a great
Bye.
rest of your week.
Thank you.